We're here to share with you inspiring stories that bring to life all the little and big ways that people bring more love, joy, laughter, and humanness to everyday life. Our focus is the hunt for those little moments that refuel the human soul and reminds us what life is really all about. I invite you to sit back, enjoy the moments, enjoy the stories, the adventures, and the journeys. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of What the World Needs More of. I am here with Josh Macin. Josh, how you doing, sir?
Good, man.
I am excited, and we're going to dive right in. The question of the show: what do you feel the world needs more of?
I feel the world needs more authenticity and acceptance. Should I elaborate on that, or you just want me to answer? Okay. Yeah, I feel like when I search around the internet for content, I always feel like I'm being sold something, or just something doesn't feel fully aligned with that individual's truth. Now, this isn't everyone. It's just a generalization. And especially in my darkest days, I dealt with about 3.5 years of suicidal depression, panic attacks, and crippling anxiety. And I needed someone that I can relate to. I didn't need the best credentialed doctor. I didn't need, the best, the dude who went to the most amount of school. I just needed someone to talk to me and let me know that it was going to be okay, and let me know that he understood or she understood what I was going through. So that authenticity and acceptance, I feel like we're all these, we all have this inner animal, this inner creativity. We all have these pieces of ourselves that we're so scared to bring forward in life. And I feel like if we can just make a habit of accepting, not necessarily having to agree or like that other person's animal and creativity and all these little sides of them, then I feel like we can all just come into the space, come into the room. I was at a meditation retreat a couple years ago, and the teacher said, there's enough space in this room for everyone to show up. And I don't mean physical space, like energetic space where everyone can be themselves at the same time. There's enough space for everyone. So, yeah.
I love that. Love that. Authenticity and acceptance, the ability to have that conversation, to know that someone's been there, you can relate to them, they see you, they understand you, or it can at least appreciate where you're at based on their experience of being somewhere so close. I do believe the world needs more of that. Now, here's a question. Getting to know more about you and your journey, what would you say is your wow factor? What makes you uniquely you, and maybe what's one or two life moments that help shape it?
My wow factor. I think my wow factor is my resilience and my ability to have survived the ordeal that I went through. Should I go into a little bit of a background for a couple minutes? What do you think?
Yeah, let's hear what shaped it.
Yeah, well, basically, I was a pretty normal 23-year-old. I was living in the Lower East Side. I was working in corporate America, and pretty much in a 2-week period of time, I just went through what felt like I was tripping on acid. It felt like I was tripping on drugs 24/7 without taking drugs, and I basically felt like I lost my mind completely. And I eventually, that spiraled out of control until I was dealing with, like I said before, panic attacks and severe depression. And I felt like I had lost my life. And I went through 3.5 years of traveling around the world. I lived in the Amazon jungle for a year drinking ayahuasca. I don't know if you ever heard of ayahuasca, but I lived isolated in the Amazon working with this hallucinogenic plant medicine. And I just dove deep into my psyche, into my spirit, and to figure out what the human experience was about, what mental illness was about. I needed to know if there was something more out there that we hadn't been taught about mental illness. And anyway, through these 3.5 years, I was basically just trying to survive every single day. And it turned out that I had severe mercury poisoning from mercury fillings and sushi and all kinds of other factors. And the wow factor that I guess was created or forged was just my ability to continue moving forward and continue one step at a time, one day at a time, and to know the deepest. I feel like I've really been to the deepest depths of this of this sadness, of this depression, of this mental illness word that we throw around, and now, now I'm here to help other people who are going through that same state. So I don't know if that answers your question directly, but I just had to say it anyway.
It does. And what are some of the things that helped? I mean, you went on this journey and you said you were trying to figure out what could help with it. What did help?
Detoxification changed my life. Mercury, parasite, heavy metal detoxification completely changed my life. Like I said, I was so all in with health for 3.5 years. I was doing colonics and float tanks and yoga and stretching and fasting. I would fast for weeks on end, water fasting, juice fasting, and tons of herbs and all different kinds of supplements. I spent $100,000 plus on supplements. And it wasn't until I learned about the seriousness of heavy metal detox and how deeply embedded these toxins are in our brain and in our organs, and how they just create massive biological issues. So it's that detoxification of the colon, of the organs, the tissues, cleaning the body of all of the pesticides, insecticides, and antibiotics and heavy metals and all kinds of toxins that we're dealing with. And of course, the spiritual and emotional cleansing too, accepting oneself and loving oneself. It's kind of what resurrected me back to life was a combination of total radical acceptance and love for myself, and not in an ego way, more so in a way that you would love like a baby or a child, no matter what it did, you still would love that child. And I converted my relationship to myself in that way, as opposed to just hating myself and constantly being hard on myself. And, I was a jiu-jitsu fighter for 5.5 years. So I was a wrestler before that. So all I had in my consciousness was to be tough on myself, So switching that over to that self-love, that self-acceptance, and at the same time detoxifying the body, because this body is our receiver of consciousness, I believe. I believe this body, when it's filthy and dirty and clogged up, we can't actually connect to those higher frequencies of love and connection and flow. And when we clean this vessel out, I believe we're able to better live in harmony with our soul.
I love that. I love that. And it's so true. When you can get the blocks out of the way, the natural energy will flow exactly where it needs to go and exactly how it needs to flow. Mm-hmm. I went on a course one time where the whole course was about clearing out all the stuff. Because if we could clear out all the stuff, then everything would kind of naturally just handle itself. Another place I grew up around was this a place we went to called a Goscu, and it was about physical structure alignment of the body just through simple stretching techniques. And the belief was when your body is in alignment, it'll naturally heal any ailment way faster than if it was out of alignment. Because if it's out of alignment, it's using all this extra energy to try to, tilt your hips properly and keep your head up and, make your shoulders come back. And it's using all this extra energy every time you take a step or walk or breathe or move, versus if it's in alignment, all that excess energy that was trying to readjust you and keep you moving forward and standing upright could be used towards healing and regeneration and building and creating. I think it's a similar experience you have, which is when your body's using all the energy to try to fight off the toxins and stuff that's built up both physically and emotionally in your body, it doesn't have time to do all the extra good stuff. And so when you can free it up and create that space and detox it out and create the natural element to get back to that balance of the ecosystem, all of a sudden, it seems like it brings you back to life.
Totally.
I dig that. And on this journey of detoxification and coming back to life and really finding yourself and healing, and what's a moment that made you feel incredibly humble?
Ooh, well, I got a lot of those moments. I'll say two. Um, one moment was when I was in isolation, and I was in isolation in Amazon jungle, and I was my second time in the jungle. I was in a place off Quitos, which is kind of a remotely civilized place. But the third time I was in a place called Cantamana. It was a very, very isolated part of the jungle, and I was a 30-minute walk inside the jungle, primary rainforest, 30-minute walk inside, living by myself without any human contact for what was supposed to be 90 days. And this was part of a dieta, which in ayahuasca, have you ever heard of ayahuasca, by the way, Jarek?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But basically it's always an apprenticeship with these shamans, right? With these healers, these native healers. And I was in that jungle, and I was, surrounded by monkeys and cockroaches and all kinds of animals, and I was suffering immensely, just in so much pain, no human contact. And I was just laying on my floor, literally naked on my floor, staring up at the universe and saying, just, I don't know what else I can fucking give you. Pardon my French. I don't know what else I can do here. I've given my whole spirit to try and heal myself. And I just turned up and said, like, I surrender. I can't give you any more. I've done my all, and just the humility that comes with being in that Amazon jungle and experiencing the aliveness and how many things are both living and dying at the same time. The jungle is just an intensifier. You have all of these creatures living, the plants living so intensely, and then you also have so much death everywhere, and such is the cycle of life. And that was definitely one moment that I'll never forget. And
so we're talking about the second moment that made you feel incredibly humble. What was that moment?
Okay. Yeah. So I was, towards the end of my illness, I was really at my wit's end. I didn't think I could handle any more pain and more suffering, and my life at that point became just a total. Every hour was just an attempt to stay alive, and I had given my all. I had spent all my money. I got into so much debt to try and heal from this illness. And I remember being in Miami, and I was literally thinking of ways that I could escape this life without like experiencing punishment. Right? In my head, through my ayahuasca, through my spiritual journey, I was just like, okay, if I take my own life, it's not going to be a good thing. I just had that feeling. I couldn't explain it. I don't know the exact details of what happens after life, but I just knew it wasn't going to be good. And I was like, all right, well, if I swim out to shore, if I swim out to the ocean as far as I can, and I get eaten by a shark or I get a cramp, it won't really count as me taking my own life. And I literally, and I'm laughing about it, but it was so serious at the time. I remember being at my wit's end and just swimming out without any lifeguards. No people were at this beach. And I just swam out. I literally swam out, I think a mile, maybe more. And I was just like, I'm ready to go. I can't handle this anymore. And I looked up, and I'm just screaming at the universe, just screaming, like I've given my every freaking ounce, every ounce of life force I have. And I just remember crying and just realizing that there was some bigger picture happening that was out of my control. There was some bigger forces at play that I just couldn't comprehend in that moment. And I got a surge of energy, and I swam back. And 2 weeks later, I found out about mercury poisoning. And that was the turning point in my life, when I completely changed my life and started my business and got my health back, and completely eviscerated my mental my angst, my depression, my panic. And I would say those two are the most profound for me.
What an adventure. And what amazing divine guidance to happen in that moment where you feel like it's the end. You feel like you've given your all. You feel like there's nothing left, not an ounce more. And all of a sudden, not only does your intuition guide you to say, hey, there's something special coming down the pipe here. And not only that, but the acceleration of energy to be able to swim back to shore. I mean, that would have been a tough ending to the story to say, hey, I finally realized there might be something more. And then I drown.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, he was so close. but to have that energy come through you, to give you the ability to keep pushing through, to keep going forward, and get to the moment where it was finally available and it could help you, and you gain this new knowledge and experience, and it turned it all around. How amazing is that?
Totally. And that's what I learned through this journey, is that we think we're at our wit's end. We think we're tired. We think we can't go on anymore. The spirit inside, that thing inside, the soul, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, that can go through anything. That can endure anything, no matter how many times we think we're broken.
That's right. You just got to keep moving forward. It's one of my favorite quotes. What about an awe-inspiring moment? A moment that left you in that state of just awe, like your jaw's on the ground, you're sitting there going, wow. What's a moment like that?
Yeah. I would say that about 4 or 5 months into my detox journey, after learning about my true root cause of my illness, I started waking up with this profound sense of peace and joy, and almost as if I was, for the first time in my life, in my body, or for the first time in many, many years, actually in my body. I was going through so much panic that I wasn't actually living here. I was somewhere else. And I started waking up with this clarity, with this calmness, and it was like being born again and realizing, oh my God, where have I been these past few years? And just this joy overtook me, this calmness, this feeling of everything is temporary. Because I never, in those moments of pain, could have possibly imagined that I would have come out of it. It was eternal. I was damned. I was totally stuck in that place for the rest of my life. I couldn't see a way out. And when I started feeling the fruits of my work, the actual peace, the actual feeling like I was like calm inside my body, and I can breathe and enjoy the air and enjoy the flowers and enjoy tastes and smells, it was literally like the what I learned through that experience was that anything is possible. Any type of transformation is possible. And I just remember waking up morning after morning, feeling this, it really, what it was love. Really what it came down to, it was the love vibration in my body that I could never feel throughout my illness. You know, some people just can't feel that love. It's not like saying I love you is the same thing as actually feeling that love vibration that exists in our body. It's like a resonance, a frequency, a hum of love in the belly and in the heart. And I started feeling that, and I just knew in those moments that I knew my life's purpose, and I knew that what I had done was going to change the definition of mental illness. If not for me, definitely for me, but at that time, I hoped that it would change it for many, many people across the globe.
Wow. What a moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like what you said there. The moment where you realized that all things were possible with love, and not only that thought, but the feeling of it, the actual penetration into the body where you felt that deep love in that moment. That's special.
Mm-hmm.
That's very special.
Yeah.
Now we've gone from humble to inspiring. Let's switch gears. What's your greatest fear?
My greatest fear, honestly, is going back to that place that I was in. It's still lurking around the corner. The knowing that those pathways of hell can be opened, those portals of hell can be opened. That fear really, really is there for me. It doesn't overtake my life, but it's definitely there. Yeah. Going back to that place, it's a mental place that I remember. And yeah.
And so often we hear fear, it can be a bad thing. It can be something that limits us or holds us back. But in this case, it may be something that fuels you, knowing that's like, hey, I'm willing to consistently do the things necessary to make sure I don't have to land back up in that position.
100%. It fuels me. It really does.
That's awesome. Here's something. In your future, what are you most excited about?
My future. I'm most excited about turning this life into a paradise for myself. I really believe that it's our birthright to have this deep, deep, deep peace, deep connection to the earth, connection to other people, connection to ourselves. And I'm still working on all of that. I'm still working on achieving that level of harmony and connection. And I just know that it's my birthright on this planet to achieve that. And success in all different facets of life, financial success and spiritual, emotional, physical, all harmony and on all of these different levels. I really believe that we have a lot of conditioning around the fact that life is supposed to be suffering, and no doubt life is tough and there's always going to be obstacles and challenges. But I really believe that in the near future, and it's already happening, I'm watching it happen, but I really believe that in the not too distant future, I'll be able to have paradise on earth. I believe that's what this planet is, like a DNA seed bank of all of these creatures and animals and so much variety of foods and plants. And I view it like Avatar, the movie Avatar. I view this planet in the same way, but we're just totally disconnected from that. So I'm looking forward to recreating that in my life. Even if it doesn't exist on a global level, I want it in my life.
I love that. The ability to create your paradise wherever you are, the ability to craft the world and bend the world into what it needs to be, to really be connected at the deepest level, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to everything around you. It's a powerful place to live. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to switch gears a little. We're going to jump into this next section, which we call nuts and bolts. This is the practical, tangible, tactical part of the show where we can take things and people can immediately apply them. There's plenty we've covered so far that they can immediately apply, but we're going to really hone in and get specific here. And the first question is, where do you focus the majority of your thoughts and time and life each day as of right now?
Where do I focus the majority of my thoughts and life and time?
Mm-hmm.
And my majority of my focus goes towards my health. And it happens in this fashion of a combination of many different things. It happens in this way of cleaning my body out, constantly cleaning my body out, but not with stress. So more so from a place of joy and harmony, of putting in the right foods. I'm always thinking about the right foods, the right supplements, the right water, the right, just all the holistic approach towards what it takes to have this physical vessel in harmony and working properly. So a lot of my thoughts are concentrated around that growth in that department. And also the word that comes up for me all day is transformation. It's like there's so many times during the day when we can get caught in some sort of story or get caught in a victim character. At least I can get caught in a victim character, get caught in something that appears so real, and I just realized that every moment is an opportunity to transform and grow and to just grow little by little. I view this life as just this constant evolutionary process. What we're doing is we're evolving as humanity, I believe, so we're never going to arrive at a destination and just be like, I've made it, so I'm constantly trying to grow and evolve and not take things personally and not get caught in my story. So I'm just concentrated on transformation, on the right foods, all the health and self-love as well. And there's a burning desire inside for me for success as well. Like, I don't know what exactly that success means, but it's just this thing inside I have that can't be explained. And my consciousness often rests on that thing. It's like a fire inside that wants to both help the world and become successful all at the same time. Yeah.
That's powerful. I love it. And what would you say is one of the keys to your success in all of this?
I think my my desire for my desire to help, my desire this my heart, my heart really is probably my number one thing that runs the show for me, because I really care about humanity, and even, yeah, I guess just my heart. Does that answer the question?
It does.
Yeah.
The desire to help and having a big heart, having a heart that cares and is open and able and willing to take on life each day and take on people and take on healing yourself and take on helping healing others. It's all heart. It's very cool.
Yeah. And passion, my passion for what I do as well. Because of what I went through, there's, again, intertwined with that burning fire inside is just this desire to show people that they can overcome mental illnesses and all of these obstacles with their health, chronic illnesses. And it's just this passion that I have. It's not a choice. It's not something, it's just something that lives, inside of me. I can't explain it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, our final question is, what is one actionable tip that others can learn from listening to this that they can immediately apply and experience this kind of success in their life?
I would say can I give two actionable tips?
Of course.
Yeah. The first one would be for people to change their water. Our water makes up 75% of our blood, of our body, so we got to change our water. I love natural spring water from the earth. I love distilled water from a home distiller. And when we change our water, we change our thoughts, we change our vibration. It's very important to start drinking good quality water. And that's one immediate practical thing. The other part of that physical advice would be to potentially start experimenting with some fasting or juice fasting, or just some version of cleansing the colon out. The colon is our central channel of evacuation, and that applies to many different facets of life: physical, emotional, spiritual. And when we clean out that colon, we're cleaning out all of the junk in our lives. And most people have a massive amount of backup in that department. So that's the two physical pieces of advice. And then the other thing I would say is to just love oneself. I read a book that changed my life called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It by Kamal Ravikant. And this book allowed me to transform my opinion of loving myself. I used to think that loving myself was like an egotistical thing. And I learned that simply looking in the mirror for 4 or 5 minutes a day and staring into my eyes and saying, I love you, accept you, I love you, you're doing an amazing job, and just giving ourselves that unconditional love and that unconditional acceptance, it creates so much space for growth. Despite what people think that it may create complacency, it just creates so much space. So really, the practical tip is just to stare at the mirror, as weird as it sounds, to stare in the mirror. How weird can it be? It's just yourself, Stare in the mirror for 5 minutes a day, dispersed throughout multiple times, and just say, I love you. You're doing an amazing job. I think you're doing work. And almost like you would talk to a child, I love you. I love you, brother. Good work. Good work. And watch as your biological harmony, it changes everything on a biological level when you can just love yourself and almost be like a mother and a father to yourself, even if you had a mother and a father,
I love that. Kamal is a very good friend of mine, and it's a blessing to hear his work go around the world and reach people. That book has touched so many people in such a wonderful way. It's Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And it's such a beautiful, simple, yet profound message that, like you said, it can literally change someone's life and teach them how to reconnect. And part of self-love, like you said, I love the tip of fasting and cleansing the colon. And I love the tip of changing the quality of your water, because our body and our brain and our blood is mostly water. And if we're consuming, low quality or bad quality water, it can royally jack us up from the inside out. And I love these tips. Great tips. So to wrap this up, I want to say, first off, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing so much of your life and your journey and your experience with us. We very much appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Jarek.
And for everyone who's tuning in, thank you for spending a little bit of life with us here on this show today. If you like the show, make sure to click subscribe. Make sure to share this with a friend. As always, we believe that sharing is caring, and we love caring people, so make sure to share. And we very much look forward to seeing you all next episode.